If you just joined us, this is World Insight, your weekly update on in-depth analysis of all the world headlines. Now, our final story now. We continue our series on the 30th anniversary of China's reform and opening up policies. 30 years of rapid development have brought both dramatic changes and profound changes to the country's relations with the rest of the world. We now take a look at all that through the eyes of a former top diplomat.
After an international career spanning half a century, Ambassador Jin Yongjian still follows world issues. He has served as Under-Secretary General of the United Nations, the Chinese Permanent Representative to the UN office in Geneva, and the Chinese Deputy Permanent Representative to the UN. The 74-year-old describes himself a lucky diplomat with the experience of sitting on both sides of the fence at the UN.
Since 1997, I started to look after General Assembly affairs.
His career parallels the evolution of China's foreign policy. In the late 1970s, Deng Xiaoping initiated the country's first major diplomatic transformation by launching the reform and opening up policy. But transformation was not easy, as China has resumed its seat in the UN just 7 years before. Jin Yongjian said his most difficult moment was in Geneva, when he was involved in the Human Rights Commission in 1992.
At that time, most important, actually, work was with the United Nations Human Rights Commission. Each year, some Western countries tabled a resolution on China. Actually, it was not an objective draft resolution, and so we had to do a lot of persuasion and convincing explanation to try to make them understand the true situation, the progress China made in the field of human rights. After end of the Cold War, after the dissolution of the former Soviet Union, China became the target, and not only China, but other developing countries too.
The years also witnessed China's increasing progress in participating in the international community.
In those years, although China was already a member of the permanent member of the Security Council, yet we were not so much involved in international affairs. For instance, about peacekeeping, at that time we did not participate. At the beginning, in most cases, we did not participate in voting. Voting took place, either yes or no or abstention. But when our delegation always would say no participation. But after the opening up and reform started, we started to judge the case, the peacekeeping operations case by case.
16 years ago, China founded this first Blue Beret troop, which was sent to a devastated Cambodia. Since then, Chinese peacekeepers have participated in 22 UN operations and sent over 10,000 personnel, the most among the 5 permanent Security Council members. Interaction with the rest of the world has been two-way.
I think since the 90s, another change was about multilateral aid, starting from 79, and we started to accept multilateral aid, though not very big amount, but in those years it was helpful. Gradually, with the development of Chinese economy, the aid we received from the United Nations decreased gradually, and finally now we have become a donor country. That also marks the significant change.
After more than 25 years of aid, the UN Food Program ended its assistance to China in 2006. China cancelled a total of 24.7 billion yuan in debts to 49 heavily indebted poor countries and least developed countries. 30 years of rapid development has made China the world's fourth largest economy. And Jin Yongjian says it is the fundamental reason for the changes in the Chinese diplomacy in the past decades.
With the development economy, of course, where China's role has become more and more important, and China's relations with outside world are much more interdependent and interrelated. So that's why all the issues, practically all the issues, are related to China, whether it is climate change or even so-called food security and the current financial crisis. All are directly related to China. Chinese interests are at stake.
China has expanded its international profile by significantly increasing its participation in regional and international organizations. The changes represent diplomatic moves to rebuild China's image, protect and promote Chinese economic interests, and enhance security. In August, China presented to the world a truly exceptional Olympic Games. It is widely believed to be a significant point at which China walked into the world and the world walked into China. And Jin Yongjian is hoping the younger generation of diplomats can strengthen the ties between China and the world.
Well, 30 years after opening up, and China is now clearly on the world stage, the country is taking both a more confident and constructive approach towards its regional and global affairs. An open and responsible country. Now that's the image China is working for in the next 30 years. And speaking of the future, you can join us again at the same time next week for another edition of World Insight. But if you can't wait until then, you can send in your questions, your comments, and even your suggestions to our email address, which is up on your screen now, worldinsight@cctv.com. I'm James Chow in Beijing. From me and the team here, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in 7 days' time.